been visiting the schools with grade school, and the reception's been great. I'm very thankful for that. But Fred also wanted to thank all the people who've helped him over the years. So that's why we thought, well, we'll have a feast and thank all the support that we've had Fred these many years. So we're going to start with the feast, but we're going to ask Fred's good friend Tom Wright to say the grace.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you today for all that's happening here. We pray that you'd bless the food, bless the people that have come, and help us all, Lord, to live together in harmony and look at the good things instead of the bad things. And we just thank you for everything. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
This evening is so important to us. As Fred and Mickey said earlier, he wanted to say thank you to everyone in Inuvik and the Beaufort Delta, Mackenzie Delta for all the support over his 70 years of flying.
Nothing.
I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors and helpers. All of these folks helped us to write the book. We started together in 2019 when I came up for a visit, and it's been 4 years, a true labor of love working on this together. So we say, Fred is an ace in the air. He's a fantastic person when it comes to aviation. I like to help people tell stories and write words, but neither one of us are artists. So we needed somebody as talented as Audrea, and the publisher brought her in at Mickey and Fred's insistence, maybe. And she's originally from Tuck and now lives in BC and is just an incredibly talented artist. And I hope you'll agree that she captured the local spirit, the local place, and the animals in the illustrations. All right, well, it's the lights are out, your bellies are full, it's story time, right? You ready to hear the book? Yes?
So this slide here, Fred says, reminds him of trapping in the winter with his brother John. You'll see there's 2 sleeping bags over on the right-hand side. They're under some spruce boughs, and he and his brother used to go trapping in the winter and with their dogs, and they'd light a little fire. And you can see John is sleeping still because he was a good trapper and he worked hard. Fred's up dreaming, and he's dreaming of becoming a pilot. So there you go.
All right, January. When Freddie was little, he hunted caribou with his family in the mountains. One day, he spotted a plane overhead. His heart soared. That night, as he slept on spruce boughs under the northern lights, he dreamed of flying. But that dream felt bigger than the whole Arctic.
But Freddie went to school in the tiny town of Aklavik. He was half Scottish, half Gwich'in, half Scottish-Irish, half Gwich'in, and 100% shy. But watching fighter pilots save the day in Hollywood movies, he imagined he was a hero, slicing the skies in a Spitfire. But that was impossible, right?
At 10, Freddie left school to help his family on the trap line, but his heart was in the sky. When a plane delivered supplies to their bush camp, he touched his dream for the first time. But how to become a pilot? At 16, he had the answer: earn money and go to flying school. So Freddie washed dishes, which he's still good at. I can attest to that. I saw him this week. Dug ditches.
He doesn't get paid for it anymore.
And helped build a top-secret radar base. His parents worried, though. Freddie's dream was bigger than anything they could imagine.
So Freddie found school hard in the big city. He had to go to Edmonton, but he loved flying more than anything. Of course, there were no cell phones, no communication. He was gone for the duration. But his teachers helped him a lot. He became a wizard at reading the weather because he'd come from the bush, and fantastic at fixing things. Another good quality from living in the bush. You learn those things. He earned his pilot's license and flew home in his very own plane.
He used that plane to serve the people of the Mackenzie Delta. One of these times, he flew a nurse and a pregnant woman to the hospital. The baby was born early, just as Freddie landed. He cranked the heat and radioed for an ambulance, keeping everyone safe and warm. The new mom was so grateful, she named her baby Fred.
So Freddie soon moved to Inuvik from Aklavik because it was a brand new town in the Delta that was growing as fast as his company. He built a hangar and an airstrip and trained local people in lots of different aviation jobs, such as pilots, mechanics, and flight attendants. And we have the Hanson girls and Odie here today, and certainly Cecil, your brother, was one of Freddie's proudest moments, because he became captain on very large international aircraft, along with Tommy Gordon, also from Aklavik. So, yeah, some really great local people got some great training, and they've done so well, and Freddie's so proud of them.
One time, Freddie had an engine fail on his way back from Tuktoyaktuk. He glided down safely beside the Mackenzie River. He had rations, an axe, plenty of water, and 24 hours of daylight, but no radio to call for help, and he was staring at great big grizzly tracks. After a day and a half, Freddie thought he'd have to build a raft and then bushwhack to safety. Luckily, his friend appeared in a float plane. He said to Freddie, "You're flying us home, kid."
And I just want to acknowledge the family of that pilot that picked Freddie up, and that was Jack Wainwright. And so the Wainwrights are here tonight, and we're so happy that they're here. And yeah, big round. Yeah, so instead of giving him heck, which he should have gotten, because he was flying with only one instrument when he should have had two, so when it failed, he was out of luck. Freddie would fly experts of all types around the Western Arctic. Together they studied the land and the water, looked for traditional sites and trails, counted moose and muskox, tracked beluga, bowheads. Freddie waved his wings at people in their bush camps below as they fished and gathered berries, always keeping an eye out in case someone needed help. So he'd wave at them with his wings. If they said everything was good, he'd just keep going. If they told him through their arms that they needed some help, then he'd land and bring them in.
All right, this is my favorite slide. In the fall, Freddie would squeeze trappers and their dog teams into his plane. He'd take them out to their camps before freeze-up and collect them at Christmas with their fur hauls. There would be dogs howling and growling and a whole lot of stink, even with all the vents open.
The kids love that one. They like all the stinky stuff. Winter comes early in the Arctic, and it can be both beautiful and brutal. Freddie once rescued a prospector stranded on the Barren Lands. Other pilots tried to make it. Even Freddie was forced back by blizzards once, twice, 3 times. Finally, he braved the storm, and as he approached the tent that he finally spotted, he thought the guy was no longer with us anymore. But he saw the guy just able to stick his hand out. He crawled to the door, that's all he could do, and he just stuck his hand out through the door. Fred saw the hand, he landed. The guy was so weak, he carried him to the plane and brought him into the hospital. He lost a few fingers and toes, but he lived.
We've been doing this so long, we ad-lib now. Freddie loved the Delta, so he started a flight scene company to share it with visitors. They dipped their toes in the Arctic Ocean, in summer of course, raced on dog sleds and snow machines, and puzzled over mysterious pingos. They looked for Arctic animals and topped off their adventures with the trip to the famous Igloo Church.
So the shy northern boy became a pilot, a father, a businessman, and a leader. He worked with all the people of the Western Arctic, Gwich'in, Inuvialuit, Métis, and others, and appreciated all those who helped him along the way. That's why he wanted this feast tonight. Freddie's flying dreams grew up along with him and were now as big as the sky. And that's it.
Thank you so much for your kind attention, for awing in the right places, chuckling in the right places. That just makes it so much better for all of us. All right, so we're going to put the lights back up. We're going to put the microphone here, and we hope some of you will share some of your own stories about Fred.
Okay, so they don't have to be all good stories. I asked Elizabeth first if she'd tell me about all Freddie's girlfriends that he had before me.
You know, when a plane gets lost, there's a big plane from down south that comes up. I think it's got 4 motors. Anyway, when it comes, all the other planes here have to stay on the ground because they have some special equipment that they can find people and find movement and all the different things for finding people. And one time in the summer, two guys were going to Tuck, and they stopped in Reindeer Station, and then they continued on, and I don't know if it was the same day or the next day they were lost. Or maybe they didn't, they were gone for a while and people realized they were lost. So this big plane came, but Freddie didn't know that that they couldn't go up in the air while the big plane was flying. So we had to stop and let them do their thing. And I don't know how many days they looked, whether 1 or 2 or 3, I have no idea how long it was. But they finally gave up and they went home, or they were going home, and as soon as Freddie found out that they were going back, then he could go. So he finds 2 guys, and this is really common for our area of the world. Like, lots of people are very practical in how they do things. So Freddie got 2 guys that knew the country very well between Reindeer Station and Tuck. And so they took off, and how did it go? Oh yeah, they took off, and I think it was a half an hour or 45 minutes they found them, because they knew where to look. And as Freddie took off, he phoned the air radio here to say, send the ambulance, because we got the guy and we're going to bring him to town. These guys, the big plane wasn't even at Norman Wells yet, and they heard the guy talking on the radio saying that they found the guy, so they turned around and came back. But like Freddie wanted to go up, and they said, no, there's no way you could. So anyway, they came back and they found out that, local people have a different way of doing things. And Freddie has found lots of people that were lost, lots of planes all over. And what you have to do is you have to think about the guys flying, thinking about the land, thinking about the water, thinking about everything. But it was I don't know, it was an hour and a half or a half hour that he was flying and he found these guys. And sometimes you wonder what goes on in the government way of doing things and the way people do things. I know I was born and raised in this country and with Freddie, and I know there's a lot of people have they live in the land and they learn how to live in the land. And sometimes you gotta give up, and sometimes you gotta let go, and sometimes you gotta keep going. So Freddie has found a lot of people in his time, and I think that's really great. And he's a great guy too. Thank you.
I'm sure Freddie could tell you more stories about their flying, because by the time Agnes and Son raised me, he didn't go in the bush very much, but every springtime, from when I was a baby until probably I was a teenager, and that's when I refused to go anymore because I didn't want to miss my friends. But Freddie would fly me and my granny, and if it was one of my uncles or Freddie Rogers or one of the other guys, Sonny, Denny, they were always coming with us. There was always 2 guys because it was ratting season, and so there'd be about 4 of us in the plane, and they'd drop us off. And I can always remember, I think I must have been about grade 4, and I got out there, and one thing my granny used to always make me do is schoolwork every day when we were out ratting, because it was a month or so we were out there. And I was out there for about a week, and then I was like, yes, I forgot my schoolwork, I didn't get the packages, I was so happy I didn't have to do schoolwork. And then all of a sudden there was this plane. And then there's Mickey and Freddie getting off the plane, and Mickey had this bag of goodies for me, pop and chips and crayons, and I remember, and then she also said, oh, and here's your schoolwork. He didn't save, you know, like he was out there doing everything for the Delta, and he was even bringing our homework to us. I just wanted to share that because I always think of that, and when I seen the book thing, and I thought, you know, I'm going to be a grandmother this year, and I want to have that book so I can share that same memory with them. Thanks.
Hatchet Quincy Shilakat. That Shatan Gina Hallak, Queen on a hundred good chocolate say. Yeah, no, that 1960 no good that no hundred good equal psych and no ancho cat govenchet, Matsi Chova Halcha. On behalf of our elders, the Kuchen, the Inuvik, the Métis people, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Freddie Carmichael for the amount of work that he's done in the Delta all these years for us. Going to our camps, rescuing people, taking our dog teams on the plane, everything that he did. It's very emotional sitting here to talk about him, but he's done so much for us, and I just want to say thank you to him. My late dad was a member of the MLA back in 67 to 71, I believe it was. And whenever my dad had to go out for meetings, Freddie always had to go up to Road River, which is about 60 miles above Fort McPherson on the Peel River. And I'm thinking to myself, there was a big lake behind the camp. How on earth did he ever land back there? Whoever fixed a runway for him, I don't know. But my dad was able to go to his meetings and to come home. So whenever my dad returned from the sittings, Freddie would take him back up. And of course, the next day, we're in INGAMO Hall, and Mr. Holman would walk into the dining room and say, "There's a parcel in the freezer for the Charlie girls." We knew Freddie Carmichael had been up to Road River. So thank you, Freddie. When Freddie was our distinguished president for the GTC, one of my daughters worked there, and one day she said, "We're having a party. We're having a birthday party for Freddie." And of course I had some dry meat and itsu stashed away, so I got a little bag of that, and I said to her, "Take this up to him and tell him I said happy birthday." And she said, "Okay." But I also asked her to share something. I don't know if she did. I told her, "When you give this to Freddie, you tell him that if I was at the party, I would sing him happy birthday the way Marilyn Monroe had sung to." The way Marilyn Monroe had sang to John F. Kennedy, I was going to sing him birthday song, but I said I can't do that because I work for the church. Anyways, thank you very much, Mr. Carmichael. You don't know, oh my God, the amount of work he did for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oops, be careful. Okay. I must have show away. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so great. I just love this. I still haven't heard about any girlfriends, but anyway. Yeah. Oh, okay. Birthday. Somebody just reminded me. Yes, there's somebody very dear to Fred's heart. Hans Hansen and Frank Carmichael, Fred's dad, were very, very close in the Klavik, and the kids grew up very close to each other as well. So, like Dennis Hansen, who's not with us anymore, he and Fred spent hours and hours and hours in planes together, and I was shocked at some of the stories they told about what some of the antics they were up to, like, you know, flying in bad weather when they shouldn't have been, and telling Dennis to watch for, you know, some reference to see where they were, and then all of a sudden they both noticed the willows right there, and they both grab the stick, and their tail wheel hits the ice. Like, that's close, you know, that's getting close. But anyway, Dennis, Fred said Dennis flew a lot. Like, he actually flew when Fred was sleeping, when they were flying like 24 hours a day. He didn't have his license because he had some, I think it was an eye issue, but Fred said he was a very competent pilot, probably as competent as Cease came to be. So Dennis was Fred's very best friend, and we have a few pictures of Dennis up there. But we have Dennis's siblings here today, and I have to say that Elizabeth Hansen, I have to be careful because lots of good cooks in here, but I know I'll just say Freddie loves his butter tarts. And it's Elizabeth's birthday today, so I'd like us to all sing happy birthday to Elizabeth. All right? Okay. So here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elizabeth. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
Okay. Well, before I tell a story about about Freddie, I want to tell a story about Mickey and Freddie. Okay, so when I grew up, by the way, I grew up with the family on the hill. But tonight we're here to honor Freddie. And I got to tell this Mickey one, whether you like it or not. Okay, you know INGAMO Hall here is a alcohol and drug-free facility, right? One time we're having a special event and we had to write down all the names of people that were coming in. And at that time I knew Freddie, but I didn't know Mickey. Anyway, it's time to write down the name. So, hi Freddie, what's your guest name? Mickey. Okay, well, I never thought, we just know Mickey's as a drink. Anyways, I said, do you know this is alcohol and drug-free event? No, that's her name. Anyways, the story that I have about Freddie is, I know he used to take out, my Uncle Richard worked for you too, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, he took us out to Auntie Emma's camp out in the bush. And we landed okay on the river. We stayed there for the long weekend. We're just all excited and everything. And come Monday, and thank God for those bush radios. Come Monday, time to go home. So Freddie and Richard are talking, and Richard said, I don't think you could make it in that big river. Probably got to go land somewhere else. And Freddie said, go check that lake across the river. So we portaged across and we checked the lake and it was okay. So anyways, he picks us up. So after he picks us up, Richard said, boy, Freddie made you guys so made you guys so proud. I'm going to call it. He picked, there was me and my daughter Melissa, and Melissa's nickname is Maluk. Picked us up on this lake. And when he picked us up, he said, oh, now you could tell everybody, Freddie picked you up at Maluk Lake. Call that lake Maluk Lake. So that's what I remember Freddie for. And I seen a nice picture of Junior. Just brought tears to my eyes. Thank you. My son Junior, my son Frankie.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see each and every one of you. Is this a campaign place? Okay. I'm very proud this evening to say that I am related to Freddie. His mom was my Juju Caroline Carmichael. When I first went to Inuvik, and this is a story I'm going to tell about my cousin. I could say it, so I'll say it. Anyway, it's in the residential school. I used to go to my grandmother's for supper every Saturday. But I never seen Freddie because Freddie was at that time becoming a pilot, and I never did see him. But I was about 9 years old, and I remember Mickey wanted to hear about girlfriends. I remember watching Uncle Freddie with his first girlfriend. All of us young girls, all his relatives watching him. Oh, look at him. Look, she's so pretty. She's just getting us all excited and whatnot. And then he became a pilot. That was so wonderful to see, you know. And I remember, and I think of it often, how this local boy could become someone that you never would believe would happen. Because if you know about the residential school, we were brainwashed and that we would never become who we were supposed to become. And we dreamed, that's all we did. Well, a lot of us followed his trail. Thank you to the ancestors and everybody that prayed for us, because we did it. We came out ahead with degrees and diplomas, you name it, we did it. And I always think of when Uncle Freddie was flying, and I became a nursing assistant in the hospital. So I knew, because of my Auntie Susie Husky, all the shenanigans and whatever was going on flying. So it was nice to see Freddie and all of these doctors and nurses flying all over. It was so beautiful to see that. And I know he contributed a lot to our people. Just remember him flying over the area of our campgrounds and just checking up on us, making sure everybody was okay. And my dad, my chichi, my chichu, everybody knew Freddie was there to take care of us. And we come from a large family, Vantatkuchen, Keteshe, all over. And I'll forever be thankful to my uncle for helping us through all our trying times as well. He was always there for us. And it's a beautiful contribution and tribute you're doing for him. And I appreciate it all. Thank you so much. I got more stories to tell, but we need to be quiet.
I just want to recognize a few people, too, while Rory's making his way. Sally, for sure, for all this wonderful food. And Tara and Kenny for helping organize things and packing the food in. And Charlene Ross up from Kelowna helping serve over there. And going around the room. Oh, I want to recognize Olaf and Judy, because Freddie's been able to have an airplane right up to this year thanks to Olaf. Olaf's done his maintenance every year, kept him legal and in the skies. And Olaf, we really, really appreciate that. So thanks for coming. Yeah. Okay.
I gotta, like everybody else, I got a lot of respect for Freddie. I'm sure I know. We grew up a lot in Kogaluk River with my granddad Alphonse Woodrak's camp. It's mouth or the confluence of Minor River and Kogaluk River, sort of in the bottom of Liverpool Bay. And I was 8, 10 years old, somewhere around there. It was fall time, dark, before freeze up. I was in a gun accident, and of course, you know, the government or the system wouldn't fly out there. It wouldn't send a medevac. And who comes to the rescue? Freddie. Freddie flew out there on I think it was on his own dime. I remember I'm in the house in pain. And my parents, my granddad, Alphonse, putting barrels out on the shore somewhere on the beach. And I remember them being lit up. So that's how Freddie landed. It was pitch dark, but he landed in the lake in front of the house. And I remember being brought to the plane. And in flying in the plane, I don't remember too much detail. I don't remember actually getting into the hospital or getting off the plane. But I'll always remember, and that's always in the back of my mind, that was a close call. And I'm very thankful to be alive. Thankful for Fred's experience and expertise. I guess they were on the radio talking to each other, and Freddie was coaching them on what to do, I suppose, and how to prepare for himself to land in that lake in the total darkness. So with that, that's I got a lot of respect for Freddie, and for that reason, not only that, but I think everyone knows what he's done, not only in his aviation career and supporting all of us in Iqaluit, us Gwich'in, in the region and across the north and our camps, and allow us to go out to our camps and live that life. And so, thanks a lot, Freddie. This is kind of sounding like a farewell thing, but it's just, I want to, I really appreciate and very thankful for, everything Freddie has done for our people, all in Iqaluit. So on behalf of Iqaluit and Inuvik, on behalf of all Iqaluit, as a chair of the community corporation as well, I just want to thank you for all your service to allow us to live the lifestyle and access the land. Very much appreciated, and I love you, Freddie.
I remember that night very well because the call came in on the bush radio, which they don't even have anymore really, but we had an old bush radio that was command central for people out in the bush, which was a wonderful time, and we got the call, and the hospital couldn't go, anyway, they said they couldn't go, so silly me, I grabbed my first aid kit, and we jump in that airplane, and away we go, and again, I have total confidence in this guy, so as we're landing in the dark, on floats, that's quite an experience. He's like, tell me if you see the water. Tell me if you see the water. I'm like, okay. Anyway, as usual, he greased her on, and that was great. And then Rory gets in, and away we go. We get to the hospital. And then Rory and I end up working together years later at Aurora College. And it never dawned on me, Rory, till, right? One day, after years of working together, I went, you're the little boy we picked up that day. So that was really nice.
Hello. When he was president of Gwich'in Tribal Council, I used to go up there and have coffee all the time. They had crackers and cheese, nibble around. And one day he says, Ruth, what you doing? I said, oh, nothing. He says, how would you like to cater a little thing going on this afternoon? I said, sure, what I got to do? He says, oh, there's about $200, just some finger food. I said, oh, okay. And so I got this, and I said, who are we going to be catering to? He said, oh, just the staff. And I said, oh, okay. And there's 3 millionaires or billionaires or something coming over. I said, oh my God, okay. Oh, I'm going to be catering to some billionaires. So I went, I must have ESP, because the night before I got my dry meat and dry fish, and I pounded them, and I added some little sugar and some oil and some cranberries to the dry fish and blueberries to the dry meat. And I put that in the fridge. So this is going on. Woohoo, I'm going over and I'm going to serve this to them. And I got all this ready, and I went up there, and of course finger food, you just love finger food there. It's easy to do. So I went there, and so I'm sitting here, and one guy comes there, and 2 guys come over here, and it's like, I'm surrounded by billionaires. Woohoo! Now, if it would only rub off, that's good. But, so I told them what was what in these 2 bowls. I have never seen all the Gwich'ins on the other side table are whooping down the dry meat, and these 3 guys here are just clipping the dry fish. It was like, wow, this was a good catering. All the other little foods hardly got touched, but the dry meat and dry fish went. Thank you.
This is me and Margaret. We went to Border Island with my parents and
Hold the mic up a little bit. Yeah.
my parents, George and Barbara Allen, in Aklavik. We went to Kaktovik, and me and Margaret, I was working on the oil rigs, and she was working at the health center, and we made it to Kaktovik. We stayed there for a while. Then we got back to Herschel Island. We got to go back to work. Phone what was the name of that company he was flying? Anyways, Freddie came to pick us up at Herschel Island. We're going back to Aklavik, and cost us how much that time? About 400, 300?
543. Then I asked, gee, I want to go to Single Point or Herschel Island. I went to Herschel Island for 740. And after a while, somebody else were. I said, gee, I wish to go to Herschel again. I think I'll check the price. Oh, I'm going to stay home. Cost too much.
So anyways, Freddie picked us up at Herschel Island and had to go back to work, and her and I were sitting in the back, and of course Freddie had to give us a ride, and we must have went to all the shapes of the hills and everything, and she was hanging on to my jeans like, and we made it.
Oh, look at that moose down there. Oh.
Yeah. So, and other times too, he used to pick up our grandmother from Jane Esau from Shingle Point, and of course my Auntie Winnie had to know everything and had radio that time, and my Akka was in that plane, and we took off to bring her back to Aklavika. She couldn't go with the boat, and of course my Auntie Winnie had to know everything. Next thing she was on that plane radio. Freddie Carmichael, you copy. So just wanted to share that story about when he came to pick us up from Herschel.
Thank you.
So my name is Heather Moses. I'm the daughter of Winston and Martha Moses. I just wanted to share a story because my parents couldn't be here today, and I know my dad's a storyteller. He would have probably gotten up here and shared this story. I was driving him in from the airport one day, and as we were driving in that airplane there, he said, I flew in that plane before. And I said, oh really, did you? And he said, yeah, that's Freddie Carmichael's plane. And I said, oh, is it? I said, I lived here, all my life, and I didn't even know that. He started telling me a story. He said, when I met your mom for the first time, he said, she stayed in McPherson, and he said, I came to Inuvik for work, and he said he saved up all his money, and he told my mom that he was going to come and pick her up, and they were going to live together here. And so he did. He ended up, he told me that Freddie flew him to Fort McPherson, and that they picked up my mom and they moved to Inuvik, and they stayed in an 8x10. And so I work at the hospital, and every time I'm outside, I just look at that plane and I just wonder, if that didn't happen, would have they had all the experiences they had, and all of us kids? And so I'm sure that Freddie, you're a part of many love stories in the North, and I just want to say thank you.
Hi, Fred. For people who don't know me, my name is Marianne Villeneuve, formerly Ross, and I was the vice president of the Gwich'in Tribal Council with Fred during the time of 2003 until 2008. And this man here, he's an awesome leader, and he's done so much for this community, this region, and all of our people. And I've learned so much from him. And he's an inspiration not only to myself, but I think a lot of other leaders in our community. Lots of young people have stepped up to leadership and are continuing to, and I'm really proud of that. What I see, what I hear, and I'm really happy about how we're progressing and moving forward. But at the same time, we're having issues, and I really hope that we consider doing a lot more in that area for what's happening with addictions and the drug problem in our community. Not only in this community, but all over this territory and other territories. So let's come together and let's work on fixing that. But during my time with Fred, I've seen this guy meet with leadership from the industry, Government of Canada, other governments in the territories, leaders all over this territory. And he's always put himself, always the best forward, always representing us in the best way. And he's negotiated some amazing deals, has done a lot to really put the Gwich'in on the map, but also put this region on the map. So I just want to say, Masicho, Haicho, thank you so much for being who you are. And it's wonderful to be here and celebrate everything that you've accomplished. So thank you so much, Masicho.
Because we knew Freddie growing up, and he'd always go to our camp. And when he took us to our camp when we were younger, he would always scare my mom. And he'd scare us, like he'd go way over like this, and then I got sick in his plane, and I never wanted to fly another small plane. But I want to thank Freddie for all the good memories that you bring us to our when you taken us out, and you are very well respected, and I respect you and Mickey so much, and I want to thank you. I wasn't going to say anything, but I thought, no, I'm going to go up because I want to respect him, right? So don't be shy, you guys. I was shy when I did it.
Hatsuguinzi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bobby Joe Greenland Morgan, and I just wanted to just say how grateful we are for a man like Fred Carmichael in our lives. It's great to see everyone here to come out and celebrate this wonderful man with us. I really enjoyed hearing the stories. I'm just curious, if you were grew up in a Klavik, raise your hand. Lots of people, and I know there was many more before, but they had left. And I think I can speak for us when I say that growing up in a Klavik, we're very proud of Freddie and many others of his age generation who were trailblazers in many ways. They were an inspiration to us. And many people have gone on to succeed because of them, because they showed us that we can do anything we put our minds to and reach our dreams. Growing up, I knew Freddie in different ways. He is about the same age as my dad, who's also named Freddie Greenland. And they grew up together, and I heard a lot of stories about lots of mischief. But I won't share them because those are, I believe that's their stories to share. But I also knew Freddie as my cousin through my mom, my late mom, Bella Greenland. They both come from the Kikavichak family. So my late grandmother, Ellen Kikavichak, it was first cousins with Fred's mother. And we're close related to them, as well as to all the Lenny family, all close related. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, as we read this book, I'm so happy to see it. Big congratulations on it. It's so good to see this type of work done to show. I think, we're sharing stories of Freddie, but tonight I'm just sitting here listening, and I'm thinking Freddie's life, to me, all his achievements, all what he's done, it's a story of what a true leader is. And he inspired so many. He's inspired myself. He's been there, like I said, since I was a kid, I knew of him. And I seen how he treats people, how he helps people, and had my respect from a young age and still does today. We lost our mother recently, and Freddie's presence there that day at the funeral was meant a lot to our family. And I was going to stay home today, but because of the great respect I have for Freddie, I came out, and I'm really glad I did. And on behalf of my dad, Freddie, and all of our family, we'd just like to join everyone else in thanking Freddie for all his many contributions to Clavik, to the Delta, to the region, for Indigenous people across Canada. You know, so many accomplishments, like being the first Indigenous pilot. That's one of my favorites. And in my own experience, brief experience as elected leader myself, Freddie was always there in a quiet, humble way. That's just the way Freddie is, with regular phone calls and visits just to see how I was doing and giving advice. From my heart, Freddie, I truly appreciate you, and I just want to thank you for everything. You're very much loved, and congratulations on everything. Masicho.
I'm Mickey's older sister. I have two very quick stories. I like to say I graduated from the Freddie Carmichael School of Business. I went back to school, a 3-year program, and for those 3 summers I came up to the north. And first summer I volunteered to do the tour business for them down at the old airstrip. And the second year I got hired on full-time, and the third year I came back and got hired on full-time and hired another person to work full-time with me. And that's the day when you could go to a tour to Tuck for $99. And if you did the double hit at Clavik and Tuck, it was like $169. And you got a tour at the other end. But anyway, the reason I say I graduated from Freddie's School of Business is that there was another company in town, another tour company, that was our competitor. But I was told that if they needed to use our van, we lent it. We had to be helpful, because if their people were happy, their people would go down the highway, say what a wonderful experience they had, and we would get to also enjoy some of the spillover. And I thought that was one of the best bits of business advice ever. And I hate to think what would have happened if I'd been working for government, but one day in a hurry to pick up somebody, I got in the van and backed it up right into the tail of an airplane. And I think all he said was, she just hit my plane. And I didn't get fired. And I didn't have to fill out a report. Anyway, the other very quick story I'd like to tell is a romance one, or maybe you'd like to tell it, how you and Fred first met. Okay. You don't need to hear that one. Oh my gosh. Denny, I want you to come tell a story about your mom. Come on. You can do it. Come on, Denny. I thought that was so cute. I want those pictures.
I'll send you the pictures for sure. So my book is going all the way back to the East Coast, back I think 15 or 20 years ago. My mom and dad didn't believe that they were rock picks here. They called them bake apples back in Newfoundland. So they came up for a trip, and Vince Sharp invited us to come up to his cabin in Yaya at the time. So Fred generously offered to fly Mom and Dad up, but Mom has never been in a float plane before in her life, nor had Dad. So we went up in boat, and then on our way up the river, as we're going up to the cabin, I just all of a sudden see this flash beside me, and there's Mom beaming her face, smiling as he kind of buzzed us going over. And he took them all the way up around Tuck, up around the coast, flew around, showed them not only berries, but animals and moose, and all the way down through, and then landed at Yaya Lake, where there were lots of ockpicks. So Dad didn't believe there were bake apples in the Northwest Territories, but my mom still speaks of that story today. She's 86. We lost Dad 4 years ago, but so I'm going to give her that book that he signed, and she'll be super happy about that. So.
So it's another young man who suffered a trauma and had been very seriously injured. And it was a stormy day in Aklavik.
No, it was McPherson.
McPherson, sorry. Oh, see? It was a stormy day in McPherson. And as I understand it, there was no ambulance, but the police van was taking the young man to the airstrip. And even it went off the road. And the nurses were there trying to keep the IV lines from freezing up. And it was really tense. And the young lad was going to not make it. And then all of a sudden they heard the drone of an engine. And Mickey's co-worker said, I sure hope that's Fred Carmichael, because nobody else can land in this weather. And all of a sudden, he was right there, in front of them, on the ice. And happy to say the young man made it to Inuvik, was treated, and lived.
I didn't know what you were going to say, sister, but we were going to have it out later. Olav, do you have any stories? Do you have any Freddie stories? Uh-oh. Olav and Freddie have been friends for a long, long time, and Judy and me. We've been friends a long, long time. But thank you, Olav, again, for keeping him in the air safe and sound.
Okay. Well, I just passed my 41 years in Inuvik. And Freddie, you've been a great guy for all these years. And of course, we still get together sharing aviation stories. And as you know, we had lots of snow in Inuvik here the last week or so. And I cleaned snow around my own yard today. And I thought I'd better go and see if Mickey and Freddie's driveway is okay too, so I drove down there. And I drove past a hangar down at Shell Lake. And there was Freddie stuck in his little pickup right in the middle of the yard in front of the hangar. So I thought I'd better stop and help him first. And so I went down and made a path for him to drive out of the snowbank down there. And then I cleaned most of the yard off. Also a bit of a rush today, so I cleaned most of it off. And Freddie, we always used to do it this way. He would then shovel right in front of the door to get the snow away from the doors. So I pushed that back, and then I stopped, shut the engine off, and Freddie came over to me and he said, you know, Olaf, I think we should start all over again. So I said, well, maybe not now, but anyway. Once you've been in aviation, you know, aviation never leaves you. It's kind of a lifestyle, a life that you live. And even though you and I never really worked for the same company up here, on the private side of it, we sure had a great time over the years. And I hope we'll have a lot more to go, because it's been great. And you are probably one of my few friends I have here in Inuvik. And I've always appreciated coming down, visiting with you, and you come in my yard, and we just have a visit, and then we separate again. So thank Fred for many good years when we enjoyed together up here.
I'm going to ask our Grand Chief, Kievicik, to please come forward. And we so appreciate you helping. He helped, you know, no job's too big or too small for you. He helped carry trays in here today, and he and Tara, they're just awesome. So, Kenny, thank you so much. Fred's cousin. Yeah.
I'll see Mickey. Hatsak Greensy, everybody, good evening. It's an incredible honor to be here to help honor the achievements of our former president, Freddie Carmichael. And this week I happened to be watching the movie The Aviator. And I'm not sure if you watched it, but the part in the book where it talked about you seeing the warplanes in the Hollywood movies, well, in that movie, Howard Hughes made this movie called Hell's Angels. And it was a long movie. I'm not sure if that was one of the movies that you were watching when you wanted to learn to start flying. But Freddie is our aviator here in the Mackenzie Delta. Thankfully, he's not as eccentric as Howard Hughes was. He's much more pragmatic. But above all, he's a humble man. And so I'll try not to pump him up too much right now, because I know he's uncomfortable. but I think sometimes you have to give credit where credit is due, because occasionally exceptional people come amongst us from time to time. And you looked at the pictures on the slideshow here, and you see Freddie growing up on the land, becoming a pilot, becoming an entrepreneur. He became president of the Gwich'in Tribal Council, one of our leaders, for 8 years, but he's always been a leader. He was the chair of the Aboriginal Pipeline Group, proposing to bring an $18 billion gas pipeline to the Mackenzie Delta. He was a staunch advocate for that, trying to make that happen, to create the economic opportunities for our people, and more importantly, the youth moving forward. You see, he received the Order of Canada. You see, you'd never know that talking to him, because he'll never talk about it. And last year, when my aunt passed away, Bella Kay, we were looking through some photos, and we came across a photo that she had of Freddie standing there with a guitar. And he looked like a young Hank Williams. And I think that had something to do with the girlfriends that Mickey was talking about. But hopefully we'll hear him sing later this evening. But all joking aside, he's everybody's friend, he's everybody's mentor. And you hear the stories, or you hear the saying that if you cannot do great things, do small things with great heart. And I think this book is a real testament to, if you do enough small things with great heart, before you know it, they are great things. And there's no doubt that Freddie is a great man for all his accomplishments. But behind every great man, there's a great woman. And I also think that Mickey needs to be acknowledged as well. Let's give her a big round of applause. Being in this role for the last 3 years, the shoes you have to fill when you have people like Freddie that have served previously, as well as Bobby Joe. Freddie's one of those people that whether I'm having a good or a bad day, I could give him a call and all of a sudden, everything just goes away. He's an incredible mentor. And like any great leader, the sign of a great leader is the leaders they help create. And with all of the pilots, mechanics, the people that he saved and are here today, walking amongst us, have become exceptional people themselves. And that's the testament of the life of Freddie the Flyer. And I'd just like to say, hi, thank you, Uncle Freddie, for everything you've done for our people, for the families, both in Inuvik and Gwich'in, and non-Indigenous people, the collective of the Mackenzie Delta. Hi, Uncle. We all love you, and we really are proud that we were able to have this evening with you.
Worried now. We have about 4 guitars in our house. We can't play them, and I wonder why you have them all. Now I kind of know, right? And there were a few pictures with guitars where I wasn't allowed to put in the slideshow, but they looked like they were fun times. Yeah. Alana, do you have anything you'd like to share? I know we really enjoyed your parents, and your dad had a good trip with Fred. Alana and I worked for years together as well, right? With Rory?
We did.
Yeah.
We did, and I saw Joel McAllister was here too from our days at the college. So once I taught at the college for 9 years, and I had a lot of young students, right? So I'd make them cookies, keep them happy, keep them fed. And every day I had cookies I'd take downstairs to Mickey and say, give these to Fred. 9 years later, I say to Fred, how do you like the cookies? And he goes, what cookie? Not one single cookie, according to Fred, ever made it home. I cannot, no, Fred Carmichael would never lie. Mickey ate those cookies. I sent cheesecake, Fred. Didn't know I could make cheesecake. Oh, Mickey, we have to talk later. But I do want to thank Fred. At one point, there was a community fundraiser, and I bid hard to get a flight with Fred because my dad wanted to fly with him. So in the last summer, my father was alive and up here. He and Fred went up, and they flew up into the coast and the mountains and the Clavik, and I thought, good God, Freddie Carmichael took my dad. Where'd they go? We're waiting out of the house, my mom and Mickey drinking tea, me looking out the window, wondering what Freddie's done. When they came back, my dad was beaming, and on the way back to town, he said, I've traveled the entire world, and that was the best trip I ever took. So thank you for that, Fred. It meant a great deal.
Oh, Mickey disappeared, and I don't know people here enough to pick on you. So she's embarrassed about eating the cookies. Yep. Oh, Mickey, you going to come back? Is there anyone else in your line of sight?
Hello, Freddie. On behalf of I'm from McClavic. My name is Peter Jr. On behalf of the late Dee Husky and Alice Husky, I'd like to say congratulations to Freddie on his flying, and we had the chance to follow my Granny Alice and Uncle Dee Husky to many places, and along with Eddie and Margaret McLeod, we always followed them. Either it was on the land or in the air flying with Freddie. So I'm going to tell this one about Freddie flew a lot of people to their hunting grounds where they need to fill their freezers. So he flew us up to Canoe Lake. So first was we watched Freddie take Granny Alice and Dee Husky. We're all on the at the beach in Clavik there, and watched them take off pretty smooth, nice and good. So next it was Eddie and Margot, and I think it was Dave, I think that was with them, and their son. Took off pretty good, pretty smooth. Normal flying on a float plane like Freddie would do. So next thing it was me and my wife Mavis, first time flying with Freddie, and Dean. And if you guys don't know, my cousin Dean, me and him are like get stressed out pretty easy. Not like Dave McLeod and my brother Manny, they're crazy. Right? So, so anyway, we're the last ones to go, and 3 of us, and we're going and taking off, and we went down to the tank farm and going south because we had a little south wind. So we're going, and as we're going, and Freddie was doing with the plane, as you all know, when you don't know what's wrong with this year. Mavis was, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why is he doing this with the plane as we're going? Oh, it's we got a little too much load. So did that for quite a while, and I said, we're okay. Freddie's flying with it. I mean, Freddie's the pilot, the great Freddie. So we got up in the air, and we got caught up to Granny Alice, Dee Husky, Eddie and Margot, Dave, and them at Canoe Lake. Brought us there in the fall time to hunt caribou. So I just want to say, people of the Delta, for Freddie, for filling our deep freezers every year with our cultural food that we love so much, our caribou, our fish, our geese, no matter what it is. If you flew with them on skis or with floats, but that's my float little story that me and my wife first flew with Freddie to a great place. Thank you, Freddie.
I just want to really thank Freddie Carmichael. He's been a good friend of mine for years, and we've known each other. And over the years, his services to the Western Arctic, even to the Eastern Arctic, I've seen him and heard of his service to the whole North. And I've seen his man, you know, when there's an emergency or a mercy flight, any time of the night or, you know, day, you know, he's there, first one to come over to rescue. And I've seen that and never forget it. Yeah. So And I've heard a lot of, good memories from all of you who spoke. And yeah. One of the things that I remember long ago, Thomas Gordon was flying, and I came to Inuvik from Sachs Harbor, and I needed extra dogs, and I was getting short of dogs, and before we had skidoos, So yeah, so I came here and I chartered out at 180, and Thomas took me across. And that was one good flight that we ever had, Yeah, it's service like that Fred will never be forgotten. Yeah, I thank you very much, Fred. It's great to see you. Yeah, and I'm going to read that book to my grandkids, and I just can't wait to do that. Thank you again.
I think it's you that you and I come from Thanks Island there, and we had a whole pile of white fox and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're plenty right full. When we landed in Inuvik, and it was kind of rough, I guess, but anyway, we landed just by the base there, and all of a sudden the door opened. It was just you and I, and lost all the fur. Right, we ran around there picking up white fox. And
Yeah, that was something. Just one more memory before I go. Summertime in Sachs Harbor again. And I don't think there was any sched flights over that in those earlier years. And Reindeer Air Services was coming across the Banks Island to bring supplies of food and stuff. So, yeah, and the weather was not too bad. And, he was supposed to leave Inuvik, so he's on his way. And I never forget, they were all expecting Freddie to come in and that DC-3 looking out in the ocean, and pretty soon the fog came really fast. The fog can just come in so fast that, my goodness, it was so low. But I never forget, I see the DC-3 just above the water come in, and I don't know if you remember that, Red. Yeah, it's amazing you guys landed the plane safely. Yeah. So, some of the memories.
Thank you, Albert. Leonine Albert. Peter Clarkson, where are you? Come on, Peter, you got lots of stories. Yeah. Peter's a good friend of Fred's, long time since you came to Inuvik.
So when I came to Inuvik about 36 years ago, young whippersnapper biologist, just out of grad school, figured, knew lots. Anyway, so went down to, at that time, I think it was Western Arctic Air, and Fred was there, and I'm saying, well, we need to be able to fly out there if we're going to locate wolves and bears. We need to know, where we're at. So do you have the equipment and the knowledge? And Fred says, why don't we just go for a little flight? So, that'd be great, So get in the plane with Fred, and he's got his map, and we're flying around, and not flying Fairmount and small planes before, and we're flying around. He goes, there's some tracks there. Let's go take a look. And down we went, and my stomach came up. And he's circling around, and he says, yeah. He says, I'm pretty sure that's moose tracks. Oh, okay. And then we're flying along, and he said, and I said, do you know where we're at? And he said, oh yeah, we're right here. And I said, okay. And then sure enough, look at these tracks, and we're flying. Oh, there's a moose, and we're flying around, and he's looking over at me, and he's being, Mr. Cool, calm, and I'm turning green, and he's looking at me, and he goes, okay, we'll show this guy where we're at. And so we looked there, and then I said, yeah, I think that's good. Why don't we just head back? And he goes, oh, no, you haven't seen this minor river over here. You got to look at this. And so by the time we got to the minor river, I was thrown up in a bag. And, and we got back into town. And, of course, I'm still green. And when you throw up that much, you're sweating. And Fred's calm and cool. He said, why don't you come on in for a coffee? And I said, no, because I got puke running down my shirt. I said, no, I better go back to the office. So, that was my first meeting of Fred Carmichael. But I'll tell you a quick story. The second meeting, Cease Rilling and I, because Cease flew for Freddie for years and years and years. And Cease and I were flying around Husky Lakes, picking up wolf carcasses, landing at all the different hunters and trappers cabins, boogie pokiaks and different cabins. They had wolves that they had been harvesting over the fall. So we were picking them up and going to analyze them. And so we had about 10 wolves in the back of the plane, and I think it was a 185 or maybe a 206, and we're on skis, and so we're landing, and then there's some more wolves that somebody shot, and so we're landing, and we were on the drifts, and for some reason, the drift got soft, and the nose went down, and the plane would have flipped right over, except, well, the wolf carcasses, but we went right up, and then it kind of touched down, and then there we were in the middle of this lake, but luckily had enough contact, and this man came out and rescued us, and we were out there, and of course Fred lands right in front of us and comes over to the plane, and Cease is still a little bit shaken up, and of course I'm really shaken up because I couldn't get out of that plane quick enough. Cause you see all the shows and the plane lands and then it blows up, and so Freddie came calm and cool, and he looks at the plane and he goes, oh, this is nothing. And he said, Cease, you fly my plane home, I'll fly this one. And so Freddie got in the plane, we dug it out, and he flew it home. There was, it probably needed a little attention, but he flew it home. But the other thing we did in 2005 when we opened the pool, and if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and see it, because that plane on that mural is one of Fred's planes, and it's incredible. The hundreds of people that Fred has rescued, if you start at one end of the mural and the plane is taking off and going that way, and then you walk to the other end and the plane is landing and going the opposite way. How that works, I don't know, but this is symbolic of Fred. If you're out there lost somewhere, he will find you, and that plane literally turns around in that painting. So if you haven't seen it, go look at it, and we're going to take Danielle and show her tomorrow. But it is truly amazing, but it just symbolizes what Fred did all these years of finding people that were lost, and local people, scientists, all sorts of people that have been lost, and Fred has found them, and he's a legend. And I'm so proud to be having flown with him, as did hundreds and hundreds of other biologists and geologists and permafrost people, and he's really, really contributed so much to everything in this whole area. He's truly an incredible man. Thank you. Thank you, Fred.